Welcome everyone. My name is Daven Ghandi. I am the founder and an immigration attorney at Kaza Law. Today we've got a very interesting topic for you, which is keys to your future, how immigrants can navigate the US real estate market with ease. With me today is Kevin. Kevin is a former client, a friend, and a current realtor with Charles Rottenberg. Welcome, Kevin.
Thank you, Devin, for having me, and thank you very much for tuning into our show.
All right, so let's jump right into it, Kevin. Let's start first about your immigration journey.
Sure.
Can you share with our viewers what was your immigration journey like, and then what led you to real estate?
Sure. I think, to answer that question, I first have to go back to introduction, right? As Devin has alluded, I'm an old friend of his, and also I've used Devin's service. Amazing, by the way. I came here as an international student and then graduated, back in 2000. Not going to review the year. And then my immigration journey was sort of different. I worked at a bank and they sponsored my green card. Even before becoming a real estate agent, I was actually in corporate world doing IT. I got my master's, became a consultant, product, and my real estate journey actually started 2 years ago. But to really answer that question, my green card was sponsored by the company. And then during that time, it was easier for us to get green card sponsorship. But personally, I've actually seen friends struggle through that process because they were doing on their own. They didn't really have the guidance. I was lucky that my company had a good legal team, and with my personal issue, actually it was my wife's issue, we engaged Devin, and that was when I realized the importance of having good advice, a good legal team. After getting my green card, I have the ability to do what I want, pursue my dreams, from corporate to get a master's to more years of consulting to now coming on as a real estate agent.
Amazing. I do want to go back just a little bit to ask you, so you came into the United States on an F1 visa, correct? A student visa.
Yeah, student visa.
And then were you on an H1B, which is the temporary work visa?
Yes. Actually, at that time also they have the OPT, and then it was H1B, and throughout that process, then only they sponsor my green card.
Okay. So the OPT is the optional practical training. It's a 1-year work authorization once you're done with each degree level that you're studying in the United States. So for example, Boone, did you complete your master's or your bachelor's?
Bachelor's.
So after his bachelor's, he got 1 year of the OPT. And then after the OPT, he was able to get H1B sponsorship by an employer. Was it easy to get an employer to sponsor you for the H1B?
For my situation, yes, because I was working for an international bank. And during that time, I feel that it was less competitive.
Okay.
Less competitive in the sense of the slots for H1B. I was going into technology and finance, and it was a global bank. So there are those factors that helped me in my situation. And I was part of a training program where they say, we'll train you, so might as well just invest in you. I feel that nowadays, from what I heard, what we've read, is that it's more competitive. There's fewer slots for more students chasing that H1B and sponsorship. And then also they are focusing more on STEM degrees, right?
Yeah. So I would say currently you have a 1 in 4 chance. So how the H1B works is that it's valid for up to 6 years, and it's done through a lottery process. And so every year currently there's about 300,000 applicants and only about 65 to 75,000 visas that are available. So it's about a 1 in 4 chances of even being selected. So that might be the case that back then there were less applicants,
Yes.
and so there were more chances of being selected. Which brings me to my next question. What advice would you give other international students or immigrants to, one, either stand out, or two, convince an employer to sponsor them?
So there are two parts to this question, right? One is things that you can control as a student. One, things that you cannot control from an employer and immigration perspective, right? So let's focus on potentially things that you cannot control first, right? Which is the quota is there, the numbers are there, stacked against you. But then again, so you play around that, okay? Then from an employer and you perspective, okay, putting myself in that position, I would probably choose a degree that has higher chance, STEM. Then once you get into the school, in addition to just completing your degree, look for internships at firms that potentially would sponsor you. Yeah, those are the strategy I would take. And then the third one, really, you control your performance, right? If you're a non-performance and even the company sponsor you, so there's a mismatch there. So I think three things, again, to recap: look at the quota. Yes, you cannot control it. Go get an internship with a firm that maybe sponsor you. 3, perform well, right? And also the degree that you choose. Oh, one more thing though. Get an advice from a lawyer. Like, I know I'm on this show to talk about it. Like, really having a friend or a guide that can help you navigate this. Personal experience, again, like, if we did not engage a lawyer, probably we would not have been so successful in our journey. So yeah.
Those are amazing advice that I would give to my younger self as well. The good thing about choosing a STEM field, like you mentioned as well, now the OPT, they give you an additional 2 years. So you get up to 3 years of work authorization, in which time you can get an employer to sponsor you for the green card and the H1B, which is the work visa. All right, so let's then talk about the process that I helped you and your spouse, which is the removal of conditions.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah. So my situation was this: when my wife and I were getting married, we applied for her green card, and we were supposed to attend to the letters of the immigration, and we overlooked that. So basically what happened was her green card expired, we didn't respond to the mail, and her status was in a limbo. And at that situation, we couldn't travel, we couldn't do anything, and we were lost. And knowing Daven was an immigration attorney, we reached out to him, and he was very helpful to guide us through the process, explain to us, hey, this is what we need to do, this is how he can help us, and then we went through with it. And by God's grace and so Daven's competency, we were able to get her green card renewed and then resolve that process.
Wonderful. And now she's a permanent resident.
Yeah.
And so a little bit more about the removal of conditions process. So what it is if you've been married for less than 2 years, when you apply for the green card, then after 2 years of having a conditional temporary green card, you need to file another application with US Immigration to just kind of let them know, like, hey, we're still married, we're still in love, this is real. And then then US Immigration will remove the conditions on your green card to give you that permanent green card.
Yes.
So that was a process that I was helping Boon and his wife with.
Without Daven's help, I think our next thought was like, will she be deported? If she is, then what will happen? You know, there was just a lot of scenarios playing in our head. And I'm just glad Daven explained to us, like, hey, this is the situation, this is what's going to happen, this is what you need to do to avoid those things.
Yeah, and that's a real fear
gosh.
in a lot of immigrants' minds.
Yeah.
If I mess up on one application, how does this affect the rest of my life and the rest of my family, especially if you're already married and say you have kids?
And even international students too, right? At that time, H1B, if you don't get your H1B sponsorship, I have friends that have to leave the country. It's real. They either go to, Canada, the UK, if they have those choice. Some that don't, they even have to go back to their home country.
Mm-hmm. Now, that leads me to the next question, which was what then led you to, because I know you were in the corporate field, in the banking field, what led you to go down the path of, hey, let me try out real estate?
Okay.
What gave birth to this passion of yours?
The real drive was the birth of my kids. I think I need to preface this to say, after you study your degree, you should absolutely go get a job, because that's good training and you get a salary to live your life. But after doing that for more than a decade, I realized that there's more to just corporate, and the path to success is not always linear. Now, after the birth of my kid, I really had an introspect of like what success means and how to get to that. And then I have the opportunity to talk to my wife, who happens to have a job, to say, can I pursue this path? And as I was thinking, real estate is one of those things that it will not sell itself. even though you have Street Easy, Zillow, all these platforms, you still need a real estate agent. And even though you see in the news that things are changing, you need a trusted advisor that will help you in your search, in finding that home that you really like, and helping you through that process of looking, financing, going through the paperwork, up to the point you get your keys. And not only that, Devin, I also offer real estate renovation, right? I have a partner, and after you get the keys, can you customize your home to your liking? To answer that question, it was really, the path to success is not always linear. Had an introspect about what success would look like, looking at the different opportunities. I have a partner that's been in the business for more than a decade. So he say, come, let's join together and do this. And here I am doing real estate.
I guess the big question here is on a lot of our viewers' minds is, do I need to be a US citizen to purchase a home? Is that true? And can you share a little bit about that?
The answer is no. You don't have to be a US citizen to purchase real estate or home in the US. However, it depends on your financing situation, right? So being a US citizen or not just establishes your identity, right? As somebody that's real, that can qualify to buying a home. Then the second point is financing. If you need financing, you need to borrow money from a financial institution, bank, then you need to have documentations, which is Social Security or a tax identification number.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, just want to go back a little bit. When you say U.S. citizenship will be able to prove one's identity,
Yeah.
So does that then mean that there is no restrictions for anyone here on a visa, say they are on a work visa, or if they're here as a green card holder, or if they're undocumented? Is there a difference between all the different statuses?
No, there are no differences. The only thing, again, is financing as part of the legal process, maybe establishing your identity. Well, now I know we're talking about buying a property, right? There's also the topic about renting a property. International students, when you rent, as an international student, you can rent. However, you probably have to go through a guarantor, right? People that are more established here, or you can go through a third-party company to do the guarantee. So to answer your question is, no, a citizenship is not a requirement to buy or rent or own a property. Yeah.
I think that's amazing news, because also maybe a lot of times immigrants say they're here on a work visa.
Yeah.
There might be the reluctance or the hesitation to invest in a property because they are not sure what their status is going to be in the future, if they have to leave the country.
Correct.
Or if the job fires them.
Yeah.
I think that's one consideration, that I want to get my legal footing first before I start investing into property.
Yeah.
Okay, but other than that consideration, as far as buying a home, there really isn't a restriction.
No, there's no restriction, and the good thing about America is this, right? It's a capitalist society, free market. You own a property, you can transfer it to your next of kin, whether they're American citizen or not, right? Worst case scenario, if you have to leave, you still own the property, and you can engage someone like me to help manage it. So ownership is not based on whether you're legal or illegal. The question then becomes do you need financing? Do you need to borrow the money, right? People that are not American citizens can still borrow money too, as long as you have the social, the tax identification number, and proof that you are financially qualified for that.
Okay, great. I think that's a great segue into our next big topic, and you already alluded to it, which is financing for immigrants. You own a home, correct?
Yes, I do.
Can you share maybe your experience, and then also what are the financing options? And then just as like a third question, you talked about needing a guarantor.
Yeah.
My guess is because of the lack of credit.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And talk a little bit more about what building credit is and how can one do that.
So that's a lot in that question there. I think let's first establish that if you're starting on your real estate journey, right? A lot of times we use this in real estate. Are you ready to buy a home? Are you willing to buy a home? And are you able to buy a home, right? So ready, willing, and able. When you're ready, you're going to engage an estate agent or on your own, look for the properties. Yeah. And willing is, are you ready to sign? You know, will you go through the whole process? That's part of also ready, willing. Now, I think the crux of your question is on financing. Are you able to afford that home? Now, able means that, hey, if you have a big inheritance or you're rich, you don't need financing. Yeah, you're definitely able once you're ready, willing, and then you can pay for it. If not, then you need financing. What that means is borrowing money from the bank, getting a loan. Even borrowing, there are multiple ways. Yeah, I know we're talking about financing option. Let's talk about the non-traditional, which is getting a loan from your family and friends. That you don't have paperwork.
Well, you should have a paperwork.
Yeah, with your family and
Privately.
friends, right? Family and friends, borrow from family and friends. Then the traditional one is from a bank. There are the traditional lenders that will require you to do 20-30% down payment, depending on your credit score as well. And if you don't have that much down payment, you can go to FHA loans, right? So Federal Home Association loans, which has lower threshold of down payment. The down payment could be as low as 4% to 10%, depending on your credit score. However, those loans, you need to pay mortgage insurance. So your monthly payment could be higher, you know, because you have a lower down payment and then you have an insurance you need to pay. There are also state loans that are very similar to FHA. If you want more information, please reach out to me. We can go into it. The last part of your question about building credit, I think the best way to build credit is to get a credit card. This is, again, financial advice from personal. I'm not a financial advisor. You can go to a bank, establish a bank account. If you bank long enough for them, you can apply for credit card. Use your credit card, pay back on time. Don't be delinquent. That's one way of doing it. The other way of doing it from my banker friends is that you can actually put a financial instrument with the bank, like a money market or certificate deposit, and borrow against that. And sort of like building credit in that way. So I think there's a lot to break down in that question. When you're ready, willing, and able, okay, then you need to look at your financial options. Your financing options should base on your income and salary, how much you can afford, and whether you can borrow money. You know, your credit worthiness. That's where your part about building credits come in. Even this third part about ability, there's always budget, right? You know, Daven, you can buy a one-bedroom co-op for 300,000 or even 200,000. Or if you want a gun for $1 million home, that builds into the factor of affordability.
Yeah. What I want to ask you is, we talked about the different immigration status as far as proving identification. And then as far as lending, where does that come into play? Because I know, for example, if somebody doesn't have status, even when I was renting and I was on a work visa, landlords sometimes are hesitant to rent to renters who are not US citizens, or they require a larger down payment or more deposits, security deposit. Does that also come into play when you are buying properties for banks and their willingness to give that loan?
I would say yes and no, right?
Okay.
I think to answer the yes part is, if you're not US citizen, you need to at least have a legal status here and prove that your ability to pay back that loan from a bank's perspective, right? The risk on the bank is this: if you're not able to get that mortgage, somehow they won't underwrite that loan for you. Yeah, so you need to first prove you're making money, you have the steady stream of income, and then they pre-qualify you that way. So, and then the no part is that they're not going to discriminate you because of your legal status. Yeah, you could be a citizen of a different country, but you have steady stream of income maybe derived from America, or you can show it somewhere else. They will go through the process and qualifying you as a borrower.
Mm.
That's a yes and a no.
Okay. In your experience, do you see that there are banks that are more immigrant friendly? And if so, are there any that you would recommend?
Personal experience, yes, but I feel that I'm not going to name banks, yeah. But definitely, if you want to reach out to Daven and myself, we can talk through this. Yes, there are banks that are more helpful to people in different situations, right? The bigger banks are more stringent and more strict, versus some of these maybe community banks are more helpful. And I think bottom line is that, you know, we've gone past the days of ninja loans. You guys heard of ninja loans?
Actually, no.
Okay, so ninja loans was what happened before the financial crisis. It was no income, no job application. So basically, people with no job, no income, they just get a loan.
Yeah.
So we are past that. It's more stringent now. However, you know, there are some institutions that are more willing to work with you, but you also first need to then work with a legal advisor, myself, or a mortgage broker to understand where you stand in the whole process. Long answer to that question, but short answer is yes, there are. Just reach out to Daven and myself to get more information.
Great, and I think you kind of answered the question by saying big banks are possibly less likely to underwrite the loan, whereas it would be good to explore more community local banks where you could possibly even get better rates.
Yeah.
Great. Now, I know we also talked a little bit about Social Security. What if the foreign national does not have Social Security number?
Yeah. So again, I think this is more up your alley as an immigration lawyer, but from my experience, some of my clients, they would establish what I call an individual tax identification number, ITIN, because they want to pay tax. They want to establish that credit. They want to, you know, have that identity. However, having an ITIN doesn't mean a path to citizenship. I think we need to separate that. This is more just being able to pay tax, you know, try to get that credit, and then from there onwards, you can go through the path of potentially buying a home or getting a loan. So yeah, social is one way of getting it. If you don't, there's ways of getting an ITIN. I think you can tell more on how to get an ITIN, and take it from there.
Sure. I mean, an ITIN number is like the Social Security, but it's for people who are either undocumented or in a different status where they cannot get Social Security. Now, the most important thing to remember is if you're working in the United States and you're earning income, you need to be paying taxes, and so the ITIN allows you to pay taxes. So a lot of undocumented immigrants do pay taxes, millions and millions of tax money actually that they're paying, and they do it through the ITIN number. It's also good to have an ITIN number, start paying your taxes, because it might also help you in your immigration applications in being able to show good moral character. If you're earning money in the United States, bottom line is pay your taxes and get it through the ITIN.
And to add to that, right, even in purchasing or renting, we always ask for a tax return and proof of funds, right? You can have millions in your bank account, but if you don't have a tax return to say this is how much I made, a lot of times the landlord would kind of take that into consideration during a transaction. So I think it's also important to establish that earlier on.
Great. Now let's move on to the next topic, which is finding the right neighborhood. You're a homeowner. What factors should immigrants consider when choosing a neighborhood to live in?
Again, the answer to this question prefaces is that there's no right or wrong answer in finding the right neighborhood, right? Everyone's needs and wants are different. Personally, for me, I was looking at close to transportation because at that time I was still working in the city. A nice neighborhood where there's amenities, restaurants, and for some people it would be education. I got my home when I was single. I didn't think of the third part, education. Depending on your situation, you know, you sit down with me, I'll assess it, help you understand, and then recommend it based on affordability and what you want. A lot of people aspire to live in Manhattan, right? But you pay a premium for that. Even places like Long Island City, Williamsburg, they are not cheap. They are as expensive as Manhattan, right? Price per square feet can be $1,500 to $2,000 per square feet. Yeah, Long Island City, Williamsburg. But then again, you have places like where I am, Forest Hills, great primary school, great neighborhood, easy access to transportation, and still affordable. To answer your question is, really it's very personalized to you and then based on your affordability. But what I would advise too, it's probably a segue, is always get in the neighborhood as soon as you can. If you cannot get a starter home, and you can always upgrade. There's no definite in real estate. If you don't like it, you can always sell it and move to another place. Yeah, but of course, renting is a good start. Rent to get to know the neighborhood, and then depending on your budget.
Yeah, I would say, at least for me, a big consideration is finding a neighborhood that is immigrant friendly. But the good thing is we're in New York, where
Yes.
it's a quarter of all New Yorkers are immigrants.
Yes,
So
yes.
everywhere in New York's great for immigrants. But I do think that would be a consideration when it comes to other states or smaller towns, especially that you are able to find a supportive community.
Correct.
Where you don't feel alienated.
Yeah.
Unless you like the attention. Sometimes it might be good.
On that note, then Daven and I can actually give you the advice on what neighborhoods may be suitable, what are the characteristics of the neighborhood, what can you get at different neighborhoods. In my search originally, I thought of that way too, like can I be closer to my favorite food, right? And then I stumbled upon Forest Hills. As someone who may be new here and unfamiliar with the places, you do not know unless someone tells you, unless you experience it yourself. What better way than to talk to us?
Kevin, I do have one additional question, which is, what are some of the more common mistakes you see immigrants make on their home ownership journey?
This is a little self-promotion, but I think it's an important one, is not getting a good agent or well-trusted agent that will guide you through the process. What I mean by that is, even in my journey, I thought by finding a place myself, going for open house, I'll be able to do it smoothly. No. Getting an agent proves that you are serious about the journey, and then that agent can give you insights and also get you access to viewings and showings that you might not get by reaching out to the agent or landlord directly. I think it boils down to, are you serious, right? And then third is what we spoke about. The agent can give you insights and recommendations on the area, on what you're looking for, and your affordability. We will guide you through the process. First mistake is not having a right partner throughout the journey, which is an agent or even an accountant, lawyer. Second is, when you go through an apartment process, you don't look at the things that are beyond what you can see. The plumbing, ask about maybe if it's a condo or co-op, the management, the super, or the neighbors around. When I work with a client, first I sell them the neighborhood, okay? Because you'll be living in a building or a house, you will interact with your neighbors. So the neighborhood is important. And second, the building itself, right? Then the unit. So I think to recap is, having a partner is important. Two, when you go see the unit, ask detailed questions about the management, the building itself, what maintenance I need to do, what's the pipe work, what's the duct work, and a good agent will be able to guide you through. Yeah.
Kevin, this has been such an insightful conversation. I think it's definitely helpful for me, but also for our viewers who are interested in buying homes in America. How can our viewers find you and your real estate business if they want to reach out to you?
Email me with the email address and the link below. And also, if you reach out to Daven directly, he can link me up with the clients, and then we'll take it from there.
Sure. And share with our viewers, is there a particular area of interest within real estate that you focus on?
Everything. When I say everything is this, right? Purchasing, sales, renting, property management from a real estate perspective, and then renovation, as I mentioned. And especially for our viewers who are new, maybe to the country, who are undocumented, can help you with rental, because I've actually worked with people, with landlord, and understand your situation.
Kevin, I want to thank you for the work that you do for helping out fellow immigrants, and for all the success that you've had in your career so far. And I wish you all the best. Thank you so much for joining us. Casa Law offers free immigration consultations, so feel free to reach out to us through the link in the description box.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you, sir.